right, welcome back, everybody. We're here for another episode of Comeback Stories. Today's guest is Brad Lea, a high school dropout who built Lightspeed VT into a multi-million-dollar global tech company from scratch. As its founder and CEO, his vision led to Lightspeed VT becoming the world's leading interactive training system. Brad also hosts the top-rated podcast Dropping Bombs and is the author of The Real Deal. And Brad is one of the most efficient and effective communicators I think I've ever witnessed. And it's just a gift to have you here, man. I think I always try to surround myself with people when they have something that I want and the way you communicate. And I've just been following you on social media for a while, and I'm super inspired by you. So we're grateful to have you.
Well, dude, I'm honored to be here. I didn't know that I was such a communicator, but I'll take it.
It's efficient, man. It's inspiring for sure.
You know, I think what it is I keep shit kind of simple, right? There's a lot of people that like to use $10 words to sound smart, you know, and I know a lot of $10 words, but most people don't know what they mean, you know? So I just try to say what I think and keep it real. And plus I dropped out of high school, remember? That's whenever I hear that, I always think to myself, dude, that was not an accomplishment. That was not an accomplishment.
I don't think it was in the bio that I got, but I threw it in there since we're talking comeback stories. I thought it was
a comeback story in its own right.
Yeah. Well, as far as comeback stories, I could definitely say, I have a couple, but I have like many. I tried a lot of businesses before Lightspeed took off, and a lot of people don't realize, but I own like 5 RV dealerships. I own several companies, several multi-million-dollar companies that I started from scratch. Lightspeed was the first one. And it's kind of the one that got me, going. And once you're going, it's a lot easier. It's not as hard as it is when you're broke.
We want to go way back. So can you tell us a little bit about what growing up for you was like?
I don't know who I'm talking to. Am I talking to you?
Both.
Am I talking to both? Do I look at the cam?
Head on a swivel.
Do what you do, man.
Growing up in a small town in Oregon, it's called Cottage Grove, Oregon. Blue collar family, really. Good family. I'm not the guy that looks back and sees how broke we were, although, there were a couple of times where, like, for Christmas, we didn't have any money to buy toys, so my dad would just cut a hole in my pocket so I'd have something to play with. Literally. And it's like, everyone's like, dude, are you okay? Are you okay? We lived in a house on a hill surrounded by nicer houses. You never see that anymore. This house that my dad eventually built into a nice house, the actual entire house became the sunken living room in our new house. So my dad started to be a little bit entrepreneurial. I forget how old I was, maybe 12. He started being entrepreneurial, built a bar, pizza parlor, then started a little local newspaper, and kind of started getting real successful. Actually, that's when we built the house up. But then someone drank at the tavern that we owned and went out and got killed on a motorcycle. And so the family sued us. And my dad's brother, my uncle, they were partners. And my uncle just canceled the insurance like a month before so they could save money and make money. So it literally wiped him out. And then my dad just freaking went back to blue collar mindset and never tried it again. Stayed down the whole time. And, I think I might have got my entrepreneurial spirit from that. But I just grew up in a normal, blue-collar town. My dad worked at the mill until he got into the entrepreneur stuff. And then as soon as he was done with that, he went back to the mill. My grandpa was a logger. Kicked ass in sports as a kid, but had no real parenting. I ran a 4.40.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
See you.
Is that faster than you?
That's fucking
that's
fast.
same thing I ran.
Yeah.
Dude, and I'll tell you, one time I was telling somebody that, and somebody said, bullshit. And I said, no, I'm telling you. He goes, well, that means you could beat my boy over here. And so some dude was standing there, and I said, well, let's go out in the street and race. And so I freaking went out in the street and beat him, and they could not believe it.
You have jeans on? What you got on?
Yeah, I had jeans on. But, dude, I'm telling you, I mean, it's in the records, I'm sure. But I didn't have any parenting, really. My dad kind of made sure that we didn't die. He didn't have, the arm around the shoulder giving us lessons, anything like that. So I was kind of like raised on my own. We'd leave the house and, don't come home till dark, and didn't really get much mentorship, and came home one time and my dad told me to mow the lawn for a couple days in a row, and I just kept not doing it. And so he kicked me out for not mowing the lawn at 16. That's when I decided to quit school. And that was that. No house, no school, and now I'm an adult at 16 years old running around trying to, figure it out.
At 2 years old, you were sent to an orphanage when your parents got divorced, right? Obviously, I'm sure you don't remember most of that, but I know most of our programming comes from ages 0 to 7. So what was the effect? How do you reflect on that now, and how does that kind of shape where you're at today?
I don't really remember too much about it. I was just told that at 2 years old, I was 2 years old. I have a younger brother who was a baby, and then my older brothers and sisters. My mom sent all of us, except the baby, she kept the baby, all of us to a foster home. And then we were getting shipped out to different homes. And then my grandmother, who's Spanish, they're very into family, told my dad he better get his ass over and get his kids. So my dad, fortunately, right the day before we were getting shipped out to different houses, my dad came and got us, so we went and lived with my dad. So I almost got shipped out to foster homes. Thankfully, I was only in one for like 5 days, from what I'm told. But I don't really remember it. I remember a good childhood, going outside, playing in the woods, not like today, not like today's kids.
Different ball game today.
Yeah.
Do you have an early memory of pain or something that kind of just sticks with you to this day?
It's funny because a lot of times, one time I was homeless on the beach in California, and I didn't really have any place to go, so I just crashed on the beach. And I was telling the story, and the guy said to me, what did it feel like to hit rock bottom? And I said, I've never hit rock bottom. And they said, what do you mean, man? You said you were homeless on the beach. And to me, it's like, it's all perspective. Like, dude, that's not rock bottom. Homeless on a beach. I mean, people pay to live on the beach. I was just staying there for free. Number one, there's waves crashing. It's California. The weather was great. I was there by choice. I don't consider that rock bottom. Because of that, when I look back and try to think about all the hard times and the things that I've went through, I don't really see them from the same perspective as other people would. So when people ask me questions like that, I can't ever come up with anything that was terrible. It was always pretty easy.
It's Darren and I both come from the world of recovery, so we had rock bottoms as a byproduct of our addictions.
What addictions?
Mine was pills. I mean, I did
What
a lot
was
of
yours? My drug of choice was like opiates, painkillers, but I mean, I was drinking and smoking weed. Like anything that could take me to a different place, I was with it.
Dude, I got hooked on crack one night or 1 week, for a week. Want me to tell that story?
Yeah, let's hear it.
That's an instant hook.
Yeah,
I'm sure.
Oh, dude. Well, it wasn't an instant hook. That's what's crazy. Is I was living in California, and I was driving to my apartment, and like right here was the ghetto, and right here was my apartment. So I'd take a left here, and there's always some dude sitting there, and he'd always go like this. I didn't necessarily know what that meant, but I just go like that.
Yeah.
And so next time I went by, he did it again. So I just kind of slowed down. He rolled up to the window, and he said, "What's up?" I said, "What's going on?" He said, "Frickin', you need anything?" I said, "No." He said, "Well, here." And he reaches over and he hands me this rock, cocaine, or crack is what it was. It's supposedly different. But anyway, long story short, I went up and smoked it. And it didn't really do anything. And I heard about it, but I didn't really, do much. So I didn't do anything. Next day I rolled by, saw me again, and he said, "What's up?" I said, "Nothing." He goes, "You need anything?" I said, "No." He goes, "Here." And he kept handing me a little rock of crack, and I'm like, "Shit, I'll smoke it." So I went up the second time and smoked it, and dude, that was it. For like 3 to 5 days, I was just smoking crack constantly, selling everything I had, getting rid of my gold chains, furniture, like anything and everything I could sell for money. I sold, sometimes to him, to get more crack. After about 3 days of smoking this shit, my lungs felt like they were gonna burst. Like it literally felt like an elephant was sitting on my chest, and I could barely breathe. I was in my room all by myself, and I couldn't breathe. I was just like, if I breathed, it would hurt really bad. So I just tried to stay alive by smoking, or by breathing real small, bits of air, and got up the next day and realized, dude, I got to get the hell out of here. And so I packed my shit and moved back to Oregon. Left, never to see Kalo again.
I don't think I've ever heard anybody that's got hooked for just 3 to 5 days. Usually it's, and I think from a pills standpoint, like Darren, pills were my main drug of choice. I did a lot of other drugs also, but when they're pills and they're coming from a doctor and you can still breathe fine. And in fact, you probably think you can breathe better when you're on these pills. But for you, it was nice to have that intervention with your body telling you no. And then the awareness to actually leave, where most people that are in addiction, it's a 3 to 5 year run, not a 3 to 5 day
They don't have
run.
that option. There's no choice there. It's got you by a hook.
I learned quick. I didn't need any more to learn. I got the hell out of there quick. Never touched it again. Had a few people say, "Hey, you want?" I'm like, "Dude, that shit will get you. You gotta be a freaking crazy individual if you think you're gonna get away with crack. Like, you can't smoke crack and win. Period." And you used to be hooked too?
Yeah,
Damn.
for sure. I mean, started when I was 15. Got stopped. I didn't say I chose to stop. I got stopped at 25. Life stopped me.
How?
God stopped me. I OD'd in my Jeep.
Wow.
Yeah.
Damn, no wonder this is called Comeback Story. Shit, I don't qualify to be on this show.
Oh yeah, you do.
No, yeah, you do.
You do.
You smoke crack, you qualify.
Yeah, I was hooked on crack for a week.
But I think that's Darren and I started this podcast because we just believe everybody has a comeback story within them. We know everybody loves a comeback story also, but one of our missions was just to reach as many people as possible, because there's a lot of people sitting out there thinking they're all alone and nobody understands. That's what I thought at my rock bottom, and I know a lot of people that struggle with mental health or any other form of addiction, that they think that they're alone. And so when we can share our stories and share the realness and the rawness, like even just the crack story, that little story, I know there's people out there that are listening that are going to be like, I can relate to that. Right, where they didn't hit a rock bottom. You don't have to hit rock bottom. And I tell people that maybe that are struggling with addiction, you don't have to get to the bottom where I was, where I also overdosed once. But a lot of times people can get in the way. Our parents can enable us and make our bottoms even deeper. But no, I love the realness for sure.
Yeah, you get to a point. It doesn't have to be rock bottom, but you get to a point where it's like consistently thinking like there's got to be more to life. I'm sure. Like, there's got to be more than this. Like, we get high because we think there's more to life. We think that will give it to us. But in reality, there's no way it can give to us. And in the end, it ends up taking from us. So it's like, I know you probably had that thought when you're, smoking crack for 5 days and moving back to Oregon. Like, when did you get into a spirit of wanting to be in business or have your own vision for entrepreneurship? Like, when did that start to come into fruition?
I was about 30 years old. So ever since I was little, like, 6, 7 years old, we lived in this little shitty house, like I was telling you, and everybody around us was rich. And I felt like really ashamed that we were the broke folks. And so I would lie to all my friends. I'd lie to the neighborhood kids, tell them we were rich. We were just sitting here for whatever reason. I can't even remember. But I used to tell people my dad owned Disneyland and, like, just lie, period, just to fit in. And it didn't work. It backfired. And so when we moved to Eugene, which is a little town north of that, I just decided to start, keeping it real, telling the truth, and not pretending. Because I was alienated, dude. I had parents that told their kids. This 6, 7, 8, 9 years old. You can't play with that kid. Mainly because I was just so full of shit. I would just lie no matter what. And so when I moved, I just, because of that ridicule and that feeling of being an outcast, I said, I'm just going to start telling the truth and keeping it real. And if people don't like it, well, then I guess I shouldn't be around these people. And so I moved to Eugene, started keeping it real. And next thing you know, I was popular. Plus I grew. I used to be a runt. I grew a little bit, started getting, into the girls and all that. And I had influence because I kept it real. And so I knew that just, being cool and keeping it real and being authentic was a good thing. And I started to gain influence, but I was using the influence unethically, let's just say. I got 7 kids from 4 women, so that's part of how I used influence. But it didn't really start creating impact. It was just influence. And without impact, it's kind of, it can be used poorly. So until I was about 30 years old, all I wanted to do was get rich. All I wanted to do was make money. All I was focused on was me. I just wanted to get paid no matter what. If I sold you something, I didn't care if you liked it or if you needed it. I just wanted the commission. And at about 30 years old, there was a kid in the back of the dealership that I was working at. Good dude, good wife, good kids, just a real solid dude, right? Something that I knew I wanted to be, but I wasn't. I was more out for me. This guy impressed me so much, but he was minimum wage guy. So I said, dude, why don't you come out front? Let me show you how to sell and make some money. So I showed him how to sell, close deals. All of a sudden, he went from minimum wage to 15, 20 grand a month. And I watched the impact that had with that dude. And that dude took the money and started doing good things with it, And it just inspired me. And I thought, man, that feels good helping this dude. I want to help other people. And I realized I've got the ability to help other people, learn to sell, close, persuade, be influential. So I just quit my job, started a training company, and tried to go help other people make money. And as soon as I focused on helping other people rather than myself, that's when the money started coming. I couldn't get the money no matter what I did because I was focused on me. And when you stop focusing on you and you start focusing on helping other people, it sounds cliche, but it's true. If you focus on helping other people, whatever that is, money takes care of itself. So it was about 30 years old is when I quit. And I quit just because I wanted to go help other people. I didn't say I want to be entrepreneurial. I just said, man, I want to go help other people do this. I can start a business doing this. So I quit my job and started it, and it went out on the road and basically realized it wasn't working like I thought. When I worked at a company, I could grab people out of a Burger King or a shoe store and just turn them into a salesperson just like this, show them how to make great money. But when I went out on the road, it wasn't working. And I'm like, dude, what the hell's the difference? So I figured out there were 4 things I was doing before that I forgot to do moving forward. And the 4 things when it comes to training, like real training. Number 1, you need good content. Number 2, you need repetition. Number 3, you need practice. And then 4, you need accountability. Like you take athletes, you take freaking, military, anybody that's actually training, those 4 things are included. But when I worked for this company and I was doing it like nonstop, I didn't realize that I was giving them good content. I was, practicing with them. I was giving them repetition. I was holding people accountable. And I just didn't realize I was doing those things. But when I went out on the road, I was only giving good content, then I'd move on. So I'd go around, give good content, but it wasn't working. It wasn't sticking. Nobody's life was changing. And I thought, man, I got to fix this. So I discovered those 4 things, and that's when I invented Lightspeed VT. I said, I got to build a system. There was nothing online. Most people don't realize this, but I started the online training space. Like when I started, there was no online training systems, 0. So I had to build one. And so I found the right people to build one just for myself. And so now I've got this training system that's online, and this is way too early for it. Everybody was like, that's never going to work. That's never going to work. And long story short, it worked, right? Now it's doing millions of dollars. I've got all the biggest clients using it, and, Fortune 500 companies using it, and it's the best training system on earth. But it all started with wanting to help other people.
That's the program that me and Donnie worked and continue to work to get sober and stay sober. The ultimate destination, the ultimate place to get to is to be of service to other people. Like I realize that now, there's no accomplishment I've had in football or in any kind of making of money that feels better than being able to be of service through my foundation or just through sharing my story. Like that's the feeling we've been chasing all along through whatever the money, the success, like that's the feeling that we want. And to get there is such a gratifying thing. And you see how your business blossoms from just to get to that place. And, I want to ask you, like, you talked about you had a couple comeback stories, you had a couple rock bottoms. Like what were some of those low moments like? What was those experiences, the emotions, the thoughts going through those times? And what did you learn from that?
Well, like, I got divorced a couple times, been to jail for a period of time, crashed a couple businesses, just all around. To me, it's just normal life, right? Like, people call it a comeback, but it's like it's just part of life. It was for me anyway. You know, I call them beaver cleaver families, where they're all, you know, nice little families, and, you know, the dad's, you know, considerate and caring and tells you he loves you and, you know, teaches you shit. And, you know, I didn't have any of that. So to me, it's just, you know, you go out and learn on your own. So I had to learn the hard way. That's the book I wrote, just released not too long ago, called The Hard Way. And it's just lessons I learned the hard way so you don't have to. And it's just a compilation of all the things that I learned. Now, the crazy part is everyone's going to learn those same lessons. The question is how much is it going to cost you to learn it? You know, like keeping it real, you know, being authentic. There's so many people worried about everybody else that they're really screwing themselves. In order to be unstoppable in life, all you need are 3 things to master. Number 1, your mindset. Number 2, your skill set. Number 3, your habits. If you got the right mindset, you can get through anything. Number 1. Number 2, you got the right skill sets, and whatever you're trying to achieve in, you know, there's certain skill sets that lend themselves to different, you know, industries and professions. And then your habits. Like, what are your habits every single day? And if you dial those 3 in, dude, you're unstoppable. You can do anything. So I just learned along the way a lot of hard times. But again, you know, I came down, met this guy. He's driving a Mercedes, living a life, renting beach houses. Everything's killer. Girls everywhere. You know, dude's balling. And I'm like, man. And I'm broke, of course. And I'm like, dude, this dude's cool. He says, hey, you know, you want me to teach you how to do it? And I'm like, well, hell yeah. You know, he's got a business license on the wall and everything. So I'm like, absolutely, dude. I'll freaking do that. So we open a business. We start. After about 3 days, dude, all we were doing was calling people asking for donations. And I'm like, well, this is stupid. And plus I tried it and I couldn't get anyone to donate. Well, I said, you know, this ain't working for me, bro. I don't know how you guys are doing this. I quit, went back to the car business. 4 years later, I get a knock on the door. Freaking FBI says, are you Brad Lea? I'm like, yeah. Were you the president of this company? I'm like, yeah. They're like, come with us. So I literally freaking went down to the FBI and sat there and talked to them. And they're like, well, who are these people? What were you guys doing? I'm like, I didn't do anything. I worked there 2 days. We made phone calls. That was it. You don't know anything else? No, I don't know anything else. Okay, we'll let you know. 2 days later, I get a knock at the door. Same FBI guys. They say, turn around. You're under arrest. I said, for what? They said, wire fraud. I'm like, for what? So anyway, long story short, they fucking threw my ass in jail. And I had to stay there for 15 months. And I didn't do a damn thing. So literally, now, I mean, that's a rock bottom, I guess people would think. But again, you know, quite frankly, when I think back, dude, it was 15 months of reprieve. I didn't have any freaking bills to pay. I didn't have any freaking nonsense to deal with.
Perspective.
Yeah, it's all perspective, man. And I'm telling you, like, a lot of people think I'm just saying it, but I don't think that was a rock bottom. I don't think being homeless was rock bottom. I don't think the crack was rock bottom. I just think it's a part of life to learn and experience, to ultimately realize. But going back, I'd be an idiot if I didn't take someone else's experience and learn from that. Like, you don't have to be the one that gets your ass kicked to learn. You can learn from someone else getting their ass kicked. You know what I mean? And so fortunately, that's what I'm trying to do with that book. I'm like, dude, read this book and you will have a 1,000-time better life if you just understand these things now. Because most people, they're going to learn them. The question is what's it going to cost them to learn? These are like, you know, life lessons that, you know, I bet you a lot of, you know, good dads and good parents would have taught. You know, the fact that you know, people are so worried about other people's opinions that they don't take action. They don't believe in themselves. They have zero confidence. You know, you got to have confidence in this world.
Yeah, and going that route, it requires people to get uncomfortable. And it's like, as people, I feel like as human beings, naturally, we don't want to be uncomfortable. We want to chase pleasure and, you know, being safe and having security, whereas going that route of really working on yourself, really trying to find who you are, what your purpose is, it's an uncomfortable process. It's very uncomfortable for me, but I look back now and see like the greatest things that have happened in my life and that have come from, you know, me going down that path is the uncomfortability of it. because it required me to change. I can't change in my comfort zone. You know?
Yeah, well, you know why I believe? Here's what I believe. I believe you're never going to outperform your own self-image. So you have to increase your self-image somehow, some way, and doing the work does that. You did the work, dude, and that built your self-image, and that's why you grew. And I can tell you, most people want to build their net worth, and I say, dude, to build your net worth, you have to build your self-worth.
Yep.
You're never going to outperform your own self-image. So you have to build the value in yourself. And now, how do you do that? Well, there's one way. Put in the fucking work.
Yeah.
And most people don't want to put in the work. They don't want to be uncomfortable. They don't want to change, when in reality, that in and of itself is how you do it. So it's almost like saying, I want to make a cake, but I don't like eggs and sugar. Well, dude, that's part of the formula. That's like failing. People don't want to fail. I always say, why don't you do that? Well, no, what if I lost? What if I failed? What if I look stupid? To me, my perspective was always, what if I stay the same? Like, that was more scary than failing. What's the worst that can happen? Go get a job. Shit, anybody can get a job. So when I started my company, everyone's like, are you nuts? I was down on child support. I was down on my car payment. I was down, like any normal, sane person wouldn't have done it. And I thought, well, worst case scenario, I'll just get my job back, because I can get a job anywhere. Why? Because I could sell. I could close. I could persuade. That's all you really need to do, is work on the skill sets. And there's some basic skill sets that if anybody possesses, they're gonna be, capable of making a living anytime they want to.
I love that you're bringing this up, because I too believe that there's no habit, there's no therapy session, there's no routines that can outperform a belief system, which is kind of the same thing as a self-image, where our belief system is how we relate to the world, how we see the world, how we see ourselves in the world. So until that old belief system gets uprooted, like the story that you're telling yourself or how you see yourself in the world, nothing can outperform that. So it's about, a lot of times, doing the work to chip away, to dig it out and heal yourself, or whatever the bullshit story you've been telling yourself. Even in your story, I mean, how easily it would have been to play the victim, getting thrown in jail for something that you didn't do. And I'm sure there was maybe some small waves of that, but even it's all connecting now with, at the beginning, I talked about you being a communicator, and you said, I keep it simple, but it's really, you're just being honest, you're being real. And I think it all traces back to the Disneyland lie, where you kind of got exiled from your friends because you were being fake.
That's right.
And so to attach that proper meaning, I mean, you've had so many nuggets. I'm like going back and bringing up some of the stuff that you said already. The other one was perspective, where people in athletics or in high performers will talk about the level of your performance is based on the level of your preparation. But I think it's actually your perspective is what shapes your performance. And you're a living example of that, just how your perspective on all your rock bottoms are like, wasn't that bad. Or most people would be like,
they don't see the power of the choice. Like,
yeah.
I don't think people really realize how much power we have in choosing in every little moment or every little event that happens to us. We always have a choice. Like, it's not about really, things happen to us and that's just life, but our response to it is like, that's what we can control. There's not much we can control in this world. And, that can be anxiety inducing and scary, but if you take a different perspective on it, those controllables, your mindset, your skill set, your habits, like, no matter what somebody does to you, you can control those three things.
Yes, you can. And let me tell you something. You're hitting a big point. It all boils down to a choice. Literally, your whole entire life is comprised of choices. So you see some bum on the street. Someone says, yeah, they don't call them a bum. They're homeless. Look, whatever you want to call them, you see somebody on the street. They've made some bad choices. Now, again, there's bleeding hearts that go, oh, you don't know that. Look, I'm not talking about every last situation on earth. I'm talking about, you can tell a man's ability to make choices by looking at their life. You see someone rich and successful, dude, they're making some good choices. That's all there is to it. At the end of the day, you see someone down and out in Beverly Hills, they're not making good choices. They're not, their choice maker is broke. But it boils down to choices. That's how simple it is. But perspective, my perspective used to be, like everybody else's, cynical and, poor me, and I'm blaming this person and I'm blaming that person. And I start to realize that, dude, I'm the one responsible, period.
Yep.
Like, I'm the one that gets to choose. Nobody chooses shit for me. So what am I doing about all of this? So you can choose to move. You can choose to freaking quit hanging out with losers. You can choose to, cut out the bullshit. Like, I don't understand how people hang around friends that put them down and don't believe in them. And it's like, look, if you plant corn in the ground, what's coming up? Corn. Well, your mind is soil, and whatever you allow to be planted in there will come up. That's just how nature works. So you have to guard your mind. But the perspective, I put a sign on my wall that said, "Congratulations, you get another day, bitch." Every day I would wake up and I would look at that sign and I would realize something. Now, let me ask you guys something. If I both, if I just gave you both 10 million cash, would you be excited? Yes or no?
Yeah.
Pumped up, enthusiastic?
Yeah.
Sure.
Maybe not you so much because you got a big ass contract. but back when you had no money,
Oh yeah.
would that change your life? Would you
Yeah.
be enthusiastic, pumped up, excited? Nothing could rain on your parade, right?
Absolutely.
Okay, now let me ask you a question. If I gave you $10 million, but you couldn't wake up the next day, would you take it?
Absolutely not.
Okay, so we all realize that waking up, just waking up, is worth more than $10 million, but we don't wake up with that same enthusiasm.
Mm.
Isn't that crazy? Like, dude, think about it. You wake up, as soon as your eyes open, there doesn't need to be frickin', Super Bowls and frickin' dancing unicorns for it to be a good day. It's a frickin' good day. The second you open your eyes and realize you get another one. And you already admitted you wouldn't even take 10 million not to have it. So you wake up, you realize, that's why I put the sign, because I had to remember, dude, I get another day. And so that started to shift my perspective to opportunity and enthusiasm and optimism. Because when I'd wake up, boom, it's so easy to think about car payments and, all the problems that life throw at you. But again, that's another thing people don't understand. Problems that life's throwing at you is what makes you stronger. So it's like you're trying to avoid the very thing that's going to make you a badass. So like, you don't run from the problems, you solve problems, you get good at it. But that mindset shift is a trick that I give people. I call it the $1 million morning. Normally I say 1 million, but since you're in the room, I had to throw it to 10 to get you somewhat excited. But people, I can see light bulbs coming on people's head when I say that, because like, they've never thought of that. It's like, that's the truth, man. I wouldn't take $1 million not to wake up, which means just waking up is worth more than $1 million. I should get out of bed excited, enthusiastic, and ready to tackle the world. I don't, have to take my kids to school. I get to take my kids to school. I don't have to go find a job. I get to go find a job. You know what I mean? My car, at one point, I would park it 4 blocks away so the repo dude couldn't find it, because I was always like consistently 60 to 90 days down. Like, I'd always pay it right before they got a hold of it. But, I needed my car, and I needed the money that I was making a little bit. Same thing with child support. I would get like 2 or 3 payments down, and then boom, catch it up, and then 2 or 3 payments down. And my wife was making a bunch of money, my ex-wife at the time. She was making a bunch of money. She didn't need the money. She was just wanting mine because, I owed it. So it wasn't like I was a deadbeat dad. Like, if I had the money, I'd give the money, but I didn't have the money. I needed gas to go out and knock on doors. I needed gas to start my business, knowing full well that one day I'm going to be able to buy them anything they want. You know what I'm saying? And what's the worst thing that could happen? Dude, I go get a job again. So the perspective of most people is, I don't want to try because if I fail, I'm going to look stupid. I would shift the perspective to where I think you look more stupid staying the same.
And that's the difference between a fixed mindset and a growth mindset. Really leaning
100%.
into it, being okay with failure, knowing actually there is no failure, because if you're learning and growing from it and taking the lesson, even if it doesn't turn out the way you want, there's always growth in those opportunities. But in a fixed mindset, people don't want to look bad. They care what other people think, and so they don't accept the challenges, and then they stay stuck. I mean, you're either expanding or contracting, right, all the time.
Yeah, and then you go back to what you were saying, the belief system. Okay, the reason you have what you have is because you do what you do, right? Would you agree?
Yeah.
You got what you got because you did what you did. right? Now, why did you do what you did? It's because you believe what you believed for whatever reason, because it doesn't have to be true for you to believe it. But your belief system is why you do what you do. Choose what you choose, act like you act, think like you think. It's your belief system. There's only one way to change beliefs. Do you know what that is?
I'd say it's habits or the work.
Nope. There's only one way to change beliefs, and that is to get new information. If you get no new information, you'll never, ever, ever change your belief system. And once I realized that, I started reading books, listening to podcasts, listening to audibles. Every day I'm consuming information. Why? Because, dude, that information, this information that someone's listening to right now is changing somebody's beliefs. May not be everybody's. Then there's people that are going to fight it. This guy's full of shit and blah, blah, blah. But, dude, new information is required to change your beliefs. Your beliefs must change in order to change your results. So if you want to change what you're getting, you got to change what you're doing. You want to change what you're doing, you got to change your beliefs. You want to change your beliefs, you have to get new information. Now go ask the majority of people who reads books every day. Every day, who reads books? You read books every day?
Yeah.
Do you? See? Success. Look at that.
Yep.
I don't know anybody that doesn't understand, I never read books for 43 years. It's the craziest thing. I'm so pissed. People always say, what would you do if you could do it over? Dude, I'd go back and be a bookworm. Everyone could make fun of me. I wouldn't care. I'd be reading every book there is on self-help, every book there is on mindset, every book there is on laws of attraction, every book there is on human behavior, human psychology. I would just be reading and reading and reading. And right now, I guarantee I'd be a multi-billionaire in a much better place. It just took me a long time to realize it. But anybody listening to this podcast right now, I'm telling you right now, you want to change what you're getting, you got to change what you're doing. And in order to do that, you have to change your beliefs. And the only way to do that is to get new information. So if I were you, I would be hungry every day to get new information.
What are your habits, routines, morning routines, rituals look like today to keep these perspectives and to stay dialed in?
Well, I'm tightening them up because, believe it or not, I've made, money, but I've in other words, I need to level up. I'm leveling up right now. So my morning routine, which I'm now making a little bit more strict, but it's going to be the same routine, is, I wake up and instantly I'm grateful that I get another day. Then I'll go into the health. I'll go elevate the heart rate. I'll eat right at least once, no matter what. So I'm going to elevate the heart rate. I'm going to exercise. Why? Well, because, dude, if your health goes, you'd give all your money just to get your health back. So health is more important than wealth. So most people are neglecting that. So I'm focusing on it every day because, ironically, what you focus on grows and what you ignore dies. Mm-hmm. So you want to focus on health. So every day I get up, I do 45 minutes to an hour minimum and focus on exercise, work out, eat right. Then I understand one thing in life. Relationships are the new currency. Mm-hmm. So I focus on relationships by identifying 5 people every single day that I'm just going to shoot a little text, a little message, a little video, an email. It doesn't matter. Send them flowers, whatever it is I want to do for these people, just to let them know I miss them, I care about them, I appreciate them, whatever the case may be. Because how many times do people call you and they need something? Most of the time, right? And it's not a bad thing. It's like, I'm thinking to myself, oh, so-and-so's got a truck. Maybe I'll call him. Hey, can I use your truck? I need to move, How come you only call when you need something? We all do. Well, I don't want to be that guy. I want to call you for no reason. And I want to make sure that, when I do call you, you'll pick up the phone. I call people, they pick up the phone. Why? I'm never asking for anything. I'm focused every day on 5, sometimes 10, but 5 people every day who I'm going to text. So that's just relationship building. And the reason why relationships are the new currency is because you realize right now, if you knew twice as many people as you currently know, like personally, you would have more than you have right now. They say money doesn't grow on trees. We heard that?
Nope.
Where does it grow? It grows in other people's pockets. So if you want more money, dude, you got to meet more people. And then it goes back to, why don't you introduce yourself? I always ask people, how come you don't go in there and introduce yourself? Oh, dude, I don't want to look like see, again, now you're worried about what you're going to look like to somebody. Just go introduce yourself. And the reason why people can't is because they need to introduce themselves to themselves first. The most important relationship you can have is the one you have with yourself. And most people don't develop that relationship, dude. So I did the work. To develop that relationship. Now I don't really care what room I'm in. I'll walk up and introduce myself to anybody. Why? Because I know I can help anybody. I can help anybody. I can help Elon Musk. I can help you. I can help anybody. I have the ability to help anybody, right? I never used to believe that. I had that imposter syndrome for a while. But anyway, where was I going with that? Because it was something
habits, routines, rituals.
No,
you were in health.
Damn it.
Relationships.
See, that's what happens when I babble.
You're not babbling. You're bringing fire,
That's
man.
heat.
And you're talking relationships. And I think,
well, the relationship. Oh, my morning habits. So I focus on relationships because the more relationships you have, the better off you are. Relationships is the source of every single dollar you've ever received. Think about a dollar that you've received that wasn't from a relationship. Try and think of one. How long is this podcast? We'll wait. Because you can't. Right. Every single dollar you've ever gotten has come from a relationship. So if you realize, because I don't like to, complicate shit. If money comes from relationships, why am I not making more relationships every day? Why am I not intentionally introducing myself to people? You never know who you're going to introduce yourself to. You never know your next business partner. You never know your next freaking, opportunity. And you're never going to do it sitting at home thinking, people suck. People are always out trying to screw me. People just want to use me. Like, that's just some cynical bullshit. So I focus on relationships because I know how important those are. And then I'll move on to money. I focus on money. Most people say, money's not that important. Dude, money's damn important. You know how many NFL people get big bucks and end up broke? Because no one taught them about money. Money's important, dude. You can make a big difference with money. So I focus on money. Every day I write down 5 things that are going to drive revenue today. And I don't go to bed until I do them. So every single day I'm focused on how am I getting my money today? And most people don't do that. And that's why they don't have much, because they're not focused on it. They're neglecting it because they feel guilty because someone else told them, dude, it ain't about money. It's not about money. Why are you so concerned with money? Well, I don't know about you, but dude, money's nice. I've had none and I've had some. And let me tell you something. If you're a dick with money, you're a bigger dick broke. Money doesn't make you a dick. You're either a dick already or not. Money amplifies who you are, I think.
Yes. Yeah.
But I focus on making money. And then the last thing I do is I seek new information. This is before I even walk out of my door. I wake up, I work out, I make sure I get my greens and my nutrition. I'll freaking write down 5-10 people, and it rotates. I'll write down 5-10 people who I'm going to shoot a text or an email or mainly a video. Then I write down freaking 5 things that are going to drive revenue that day, and then I freaking read 10 to 20 pages of a book or listen to a book, and sometimes more. But that's every single day. What about Sundays? On Sundays too, every single day. There's no day that I don't do that. So that's my morning routine with that. I call it the $1 million morning only because you wake up and realize it's worth more than $1 million that you woke up. That immediately shifts you into an enthusiastic perspective. Now it's like, dude, I get to work out. I don't have to work out. Like, I get to get on that treadmill. I used to hate cardio. I'll come back here in 9 weeks, dude. I'll be shredded, dude. Shredded. Never been shredded my whole life. But it's time to elevate, dude. I've been at the same level for so long, man. And I'm sitting here talking to people and giving them, bombs and here's how you fix your life. And I looked at myself one day and I'm like, dude, how am I sitting here telling people they got to do this and they got to do the work and I'm not doing the work.
Right.
And that's exciting for the world because you can only take your people as far as you're willing to go. So
fake
as
the
you
fun.
level it up.
See, if I had a bomb here, I'd drop the bomb. That's a bomb right there.
Right. I appreciate the fresh energy that you're bringing because I feel like a lot of times people feel like success is the destination. Like if they're the CEO of Lightspeed VT, like once I get there, I'm cooling. Like I'm kicking my feet up. Like we're here now. But I hear you with still a hunger, still a perspective of humility that's like, I know that I don't know a whole lot. You know, I know enough, but I really, at the end of the day, I don't know much. So I'm here to learn. I'm eager to still seek out the knowledge, like I'm still, you know, that guy that, you know, just got done smoking crack. I'm trying to find my way, or I'm just trying to bust my way through a door, knocking on doors, you know, hiding from the repo man. Like, it still sounds like that sense of urgency is still there. And I feel like people need to hear that when they envision success, because it's like, success, I get what I got. I get what I was looking for. I'm done. But it's like, what can I do next? What can I still do? And I appreciate you bringing that perspective.
Well, I think it's a normal part. Like if you ask somebody what success looks like to them, and then 3 years later ask again, it'll be different.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you're always going to move the bar, and you should, if you ask me. And that's another thing. You ask people what success looks like, a lot of them can't tell you. Like, just randomly ask somebody, dude, what does success look like to you? And 9 times out of 10, you're going to see them look up and they're going to start thinking about it. Now, imagine if I said, hey, go into a room full of 1,000 people and find somebody. What would be the first question? I tell you to go in that room, find someone for me. What would you say to me?
I don't know.
What do they look like?
Okay, yeah.
You know, who am I looking for?
Yeah.
Like, can you describe them?
Right.
You know, we wouldn't even just walk in the room and start blindly looking. So when it comes to our success, why don't we take time to sit down and figure out exactly what it looks like? Because most people think there's some sort of key to success, and it's more of a combination. You know what I mean? It's a combination, and everyone has their own. See, I could say, oh, man, this guy's successful and that guy's successful. Have I ever sat down and thought, what do I think success looks like? Because a lot of times we reach these pinnacles in financial and we still end up committing suicide, or we're depressed, or we're just not happy, and we got all the money in the world. There's people with money that are unhappy. Well, that's because they thought money was what they were looking for. And when they get there, they realize it isn't. So take the time right now and just figure out what success looks like to you, and only you. I know a guy that goes out and gets laid almost every other night, and he calls me and brags about it. And to him, that's a success. To me, that's dangerous, especially in Vegas. You know, so at the end of the day, it's like, dude, whatever you think success looks like is what you need to focus on, so you can determine whether you're moving towards it or away from it. Because if like, let's say I want to get abs. Okay, is 5 guys moving towards or away? Obviously.
Yeah.
I mean, everything becomes obvious now. It's like everybody wants to complicate shit. It's like real easy. Hey, I want to make money. Okay, should I go hang out? Should I go freaking smoke weed and play some Xbox? Is that moving me towards or away making money? And guess what? You'll start to see that, dude, life isn't that freaking difficult, but yet we're told it is. Life's hard. Life isn't hard unless you make it hard. And that's why when people ask me, you know, tell me about your downfalls, like, I don't really think of them like that. I need to go back and do that, though, because it makes a much better story. I can tell you that. You ever hear those people that are, you know, they use their stories to like, you know, magnify their result? Like,
Oh, yeah.
man, you know, I dropped out of school and my dad didn't love me, and I freaking went to jail and I was hooked on crack, and look, I still made it. But at the end of the day, when I look back, I don't think of it like that. I just think, you know, that was unfortunate. Like, man, I learned from that. Next, then I learned from that. You lose friends, lose marriages. You know, I got divorced when I never only wanted to get married once. Ended up getting a divorce. Why? Well, I made a mistake on picking my partner, my wife. I just like, you know, I made a mistake. You know, most people, they don't want to admit that. They want to blame the wife. It was me. I was the problem. It's you every time.
Ownership.
Just so people understand that. It is always you, because when you said you can't control things, I believe you can control things, because you can control how you react, which means you can control the situation.
Yeah.
I said one time, we were in a nightclub. I get hate for this from alpha dudes, and you know, I think I'm kind of an alpha dude, but I get hate from, you know, tough guys all the time, because I say, man, I was in this nightclub and we're walking by and some dude slapped my chick's ass. And I said, you know, if someone slaps your chick's ass, dude, you got to do something, right? You got to fight. And everyone's like, yeah, of course. And then I think, no, you fucking don't.
Right.
You do not have to fight. You do not have to punch the person. I guarantee you do not have to make that choice. Now, a lot of people would make that choice. But what if you had a crystal ball and you knew if you punch that person, he's going to fall down, bust his head, manslaughter, you're in prison for 12 years? Now who's slapping your girl's ass?
Or you're going to break your hand, and there's no good outcome from that.
But when you look at it, it's a choice. You made a choice, and now you live with the outcome. I'm stopping at the bar on the way home. I just want to get a drink. I get a drink. Then I have 2. My friend shows up. I have 3. It's just 3 drinks. I can drive home. I'm not drunk. We've all done that, right? Even that Raider the other day. Who was that guy? What was that guy's name?
Oh, you talking about Henry?
I don't know. Fiery car crash. Drunk, driving drunk.
Henry.
See, dude, he made a bad choice. That dude's a good dude, made a bad fucking choice. A bad choice ruined his whole fucking life, or whole darn life.
Good.
But I mean, that's what I'm talking about. It's like, dude, he made the choice. I know people that ended up in prison because they got in a car crash and somebody died, and now they're in prison, and they're blaming other things. When in reality, dude, you could have took an Uber. You could have said no. You could have went home. You could have chose to work out. You could have chose to quit hanging out with the people that like to party if you're, in that danger zone. So, and again, I'm not preaching. All I'm trying to say is, for people listening, it boils down to you. You are the responsible party. End of story. And when you take that accountability and you realize that you need to stop looking outside to fix things, you need to look inside to fix things.
Man, we're going to have you back.
Yeah.
This is like flown by, and I love we'll just wrap it up really quick, but I love the idea of success that you're talking about, because I think so many people measure their success against somebody else's definition of success.
Yeah.
Right. And so of course they're unhappy. They're chasing something that isn't even them. But a lot of nuggets. I wish I was taking notes the whole time, but I'll
Lots of heat.
be excited to hear this one when it releases and take some notes. And we're gonna have you back again, man, because you're just dropping fire and bomb after bomb.
Well,
and I knew it would be that way.
Well, I appreciate it. I'll come back anytime. I'm local.
Yes, sir, my man.
All right, we're gonna wrap it up. We appreciate you, man.
Appreciate you
Thank you for your realness.
Likewise.
It resonates, and it's inspiring, and I definitely want more of what you have.
Good, man.
Real deal for sure.
Appreciate you.
All right, we're out.